raise your hand if you're greedy. I'm greedy. I try not to be, but I think every human being is greedy. Well, Reagan said greed is good because it drives innovation and drives prosperity and stuff. And I think that's kind of true. I mean, I'm not saying Reagan was sincere about that necessarily. Maybe he was, but I think there's something to be said for the human need for more and more and more. Obviously, that leads to destruction and damnation sometimes too. But we also have an insatiable hunger for whatever you would term as wealth, whatever you would think of as wealth, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just a question of what you do with it. People do get screwed over by their greed a lot, but they also benefit from their greed. And I guess maybe greed is the wrong word. It's because people, you say greed and people it's more like avarice, and avarice is like an extreme kind of greed. But it's desire. It's desire for to better our situation. It's desire to improve things for ourselves, and that's just human nature. People kind of hate it because they think they're supposed to. Because most religions, most philosophies, they teach that greed is bad. They teach that desiring more than you have really is bad. But then you have to question why that is. Why do they tell people that? Why do they tell them to not try to better themselves? And I'm sure some of the time it is born out of a genuine desire to to prevent people from making horrible mistakes and protect them from their own lust. It leads people astray, because it does. Also, it's a good way of keeping people under control. You tell people, oh, it's bad. It's bad to want to be rich. You tell people it's bad to be rich. It's bad to want things for yourself. And I think that's sometimes BS. I think that's I don't think that's necessarily true. I think that is a means of keeping people under your heel. If you tell them, oh no, it's you be poor, like you give me all your money, just like every church, really, they say it's bad for you to have too much. I say this as a religious person myself, but they say it's bad to have too much and to want too much and to value material possessions and things like that, which, in and of itself, that may be true. But then you have to question who's saying this. Like, are the people who say this, do they live that same lifestyle? Do they give up all their wealth? No, of course not. The vast majority of religious leaders, spiritual leaders, political leaders, because it's not just a religious thing. It's not just it's politicians, they say, oh, we need to do this for the common good. We need to do everything for the common good. It's essential that everyone give up and put it into the common pot, into the collective pool for the collective good. Okay, that sounds good. Who has the keys? Who has access to the collective pot? Oh yeah, it's the people in charge. It's the people telling you to give up your wealth and give it to them, because they know what to do with it. They'll handle it better than you can, right? You couldn't possibly be trusted to do good with the products of your own labor. You couldn't possibly be trusted to do good with the fruits of your own toil. No. You got to give it to somebody wiser, because that's what it always. They always present themselves as being so wise and so good and so noble. And only the priest knows how how to divvy up the wealth. Only the church deserves finery. Only the benevolent. It's not limited to, but obviously this is something that like socialists do all the time. They say, oh no, it's bad for anyone to have too much. But if you give it all to the government, and I'm the one who has access to it. So basically, it's my wealth. Well, that's fine. That's fine. Don't worry about that. Don't think about that. That's totally okay. I can be trusted because I'm a good person. I'm a good person. I wouldn't stick my fingers in that pie and take the money out of that pot. Oh no, I wouldn't do that. But anyone, any private citizen, absolutely. Yep. Any just common lay person, any common parishioner. Well, they can't be trusted with wealth, but the wise man, I can be trusted with wealth. You can trust me because I say that I'm noble and altruistic, and it's kind of strange that like just the common person, the lay person, just the person who doesn't claim to be high or noble or holy or enlightened. It's strange how that person they can't be trusted. They can't be charitable on their own. They can't make wise use of their money, of their riches, of their resources. No, it's you gotta hand it off to someone who tells you that he or she has the greater good in mind. And it doesn't surprise me. It disappoints me how readily people eat that up and believe it and buy it, because I feel like after a certain point people should wise up, but then they rarely do. Sometimes after they've been screwed over and over and over again, and it's brutal, and they just they can't take anymore, then finally they realize, oh wait, that was a trick, wasn't it? Yeah, that was a trick. But by then it's often too late, and they've been robbed blind. And then they have to start over, if they're still alive, which often they're not. So I would caution against people or institutions who tell you, because I'm never going to tell you that you should give away all your possessions. I'm never going to tell you that it is bad to want more resources, because what are resources? What is, money to an extent? Well, if you use it wisely, it can mean freedom. It can mean you getting what you want, living the way you want. And obviously, if you're unwise, it can lead you to total destruction and ruination. But that's true of anything. I mean, a car can be really useful, really, really useful. But if you are stupid and you drive it like a maniac, or you get drunk and you drive drunk all the time, well, that's probably going to end badly. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't have a car, or that doesn't mean that people shouldn't have cars. Like, everyone shouldn't have to rely on private transportation run by an enlightened holy man or central committee or whatever. Not that there's anything wrong with public transportation. I've used public transportation a lot. Like when I lived in Denver, it would have been stupid to have a car there where I was living, so I didn't. And that's just a metaphor. But there's also nothing wrong with with not craving great wealth or anything either. That's perfectly fine. I'm just saying that ambition and a desire for wealth and the freedom that it can bring is absolutely nothing to be ashamed of. And in fact, the people who chastise you for wanting that, or even just for the possible future ambition of having that, they're the bastards. They're the ones who should be ashamed. So really, if you see them and they try to tell you that, if anyone tries to call you greedy, well, you just say shameful. You say, shame on you. You're wrong. I'm fine. You're the problem.